Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Thrive Beyond Cancer Summit. Today's guest, I am so grateful to be talking to him today. His name is Dr. Habib Sadeghi, and he is the founder of Hive of Healing Integrative Medical Center. He is also the author of The Clarity Cleanse, and his nickname is the Old Soul Doctor.
That's right.
Dr. Habib Sadeghi.
Yes, it's such a privilege to be here, and thank you for the invitation. And thank you for holding this space for all of us to thrive instead of surviving an aspect of life, such as a medical challenge, such as cancer or flu or multiple sclerosis or Parkinson's disease. That for me, it's really an opening, a stepping stone into something larger, just the way that a seed, breaks open for its entelechy to unfold, So I'm very grateful. Thank you for the invitation.
So I would like to get into, there's so many amazing things that you do and how you approach what you do and how you do it. And one of the things that you do is when someone comes into your office, you ask them what else is going on with them in their life, in addition to, if they've been diagnosed with something or whatever they're going through. Can you tell us about why you approached it like that?
Absolutely. I think the mystic poet Rumi has this metaphor, this story about a person who is under a light and they're looking for something. Someone that's passing by comes up and says, well, what's going on? He says, I've lost my key. And says, well, where did you lose it? And, and he says, well, I lost it down the street. And he says, well, why are you looking here? This is where the light is, And most of us, we completely feel disconnected from the root cause of why we end up with medical illness. And I truly believe that having had some personal experience with cancer myself, which I published my entire medical records from City of Hope, a mecca of for oncology and medical treatment here in Doherty, California, in the book. And 5 physicians had to read it before the publisher would allow it to be published. And, and look, I was given 70% chance of metastasis. I was told that I would never father children. And I was told that I couldn't survive that, but here I am. And that was 20 some years ago. But the reality of it is that I've had a personal experience that our biography dictates our biology. What happens, down the street, it actually affects us here, that everything is connected, that we cannot ignore years of trauma and abuse and neglect and feel that that's not going to affect our buffering capacity, or it's not going to manifest as a disease such as cancer.
Yeah, wow, that's so profound.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, which is very similar to your story. I mean, you've gone through, the reason that you're doing this is because you've gone through that. You've had a personal challenge and you realized that you wanted to be of service and you wanted to contribute and you wanted to share.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very important to me to share these things because as I'm going through things and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should think about how my emotions play into my overall well-being and like dealing with things from the past or my childhood, my relationships with my husband, my relationships with my family, my friends, not speaking my truth, not speaking up when I should speak up, and like just repressing like all of that for a very long time and not feeling like sometimes that I can't even talk about it.
Yes.
I feel like I can talk about it, which is a good thing,
That's the difference.
Of it.
That's really the difference. One of the things that I talk about is that with every challenge, there's several ways you can approach it. You can approach it like a child would. A child, when something happens, they're helpless, right? So a person can approach cancer from a perspective of a child. It's sort of like a deer in a headlight. And I can't tell you how many people actually approach it that way. They go in, they're given the C word, they're labeled, and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'll do whatever you say, in a very helpless manner. There are other people that you see that they approach it like a teenager. I'm going to fight it. I'm going to stand up to cancer. F cancer. Yeah. And they push back and they create what I refer to as againstness. But that's what a teenager would do, right? Very, just filled with pushing back and being against and so forth. Then there is the intellectual way of going through it. There are people, they say, well, let me go on Google or whatever the search engine. Let me find out about all my statistics and what I need to do and all the nutrients that I need to. That's a very intellectual way of approaching cancer. Yeah. And then there's another way where people say, oh, that's it. I'm dead. It's over. You may as well just stick a fork in me. They completely resign like an old person would. There is no, there's no joie de vivre. There's no juice. They see it as a death sentence. Yeah. And then there is what we're talking about, right? Which is you approach cancer the way an artist would, right? And you look at it and you say, well, wait a minute. Okay, so there's some challenges that I'm dealing with, and I'm going to open enough space and get creative to see where did this come from? How can I contribute? You're completely engaged and you're improvising with light, and that's really, so approaching cancer in a way as an artist, as a master human being who understands that, there's significant amount of resources that has been invested in my creation. And now all of a sudden you open up this whole realm of spirituality. And I talk about this in the book, The Clarity Cleanse, but there's a way of journaling that I refer to as purged emotional writing for 12 minutes every day, or Pew 12, where you create a cocooning and you sit down and you just simply ask yourself, what are the thoughts that they're present for me? What are my feelings? What are the emotions? What's present for me? How am I feeling in my body? Are there any tensions in my body? And what you do is you write as quickly as you can, and afterwards you burn it, you shred it, you get rid of it. You don't read it. Now, what would that do? That sort of gives you a picture of inside and what is occurring for us. So approaching any challenge in life, including a medical challenge, as an artist, it allows us to be engaged with it, you see, and that's really what we're talking about.
I never thought about it like that, approaching it like an artist. Like, I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah, you may. I mean, I think that a lot of what you've done and perhaps the success that you had was because you approached it as an artist, because of your background as an artist, because of your familiarity with improvisation, which is really creating something out of nothing, right? Most people, they don't create out of nothing. They create out of fear, right? Which is false evidence appearing real. They create out of regret. They create out of I should have. They create out of feeling remorseful. They create out of feeling disconnected. So, they go into it with a backpack that is so heavy and filled with so many rocks. And it's difficult when you're going to go hiking, especially if it's really steep, such as a medical challenge, such as cancer. If you're carrying that backpack filled with all those rocks that they're heavy, the misunderstandings, the misinterpretations, the misuse of our energy, we don't have enough resources to be able to carry us through this journey.
I'm already getting my life in this interview, so I'm just Oh God, it's so like I'm full. So thank you.
Yeah. My pleasure. Look, the fullness of life is what we all need. We all need to start from a place of increasing our buffering capacity. I
Mhm.
couldn't have this interview, okay, if the device that I'm using wasn't charged up. You couldn't connect with me if your device was not charged up. A lot of people have, can you imagine? Can you imagine being born in a family that that you've had significant challenges growing up with mom, with dad, with your siblings? Can you imagine having, your introduction, let's say, into sexuality was such that it was very complex and layered, so you're feeling guilty and shameful? That was the case for me. I'm speaking about personal experience.
Mhm.
And now, all of a sudden you're diagnosed with testicular cancer. Well, of course, I mean, yes, no one at City of Hope sat down and talked to me and wanted to connect the dots, but it's my responsibility. This is my body. And
Yeah.
they wanted to do a 16-hour, procedure, surgery, where they cut me open, they cut my gut open, take everything out, and then they wanted radiation and 4 cycles of chemotherapy. I said no. I walked away. Now, I'm not advocating that for anybody. I'm a, medical doctor. I'm a family doctor, and I have a prescription right. I'll never really throw the baby with bathwater. But what I'm bringing forward is that as an artist, you cannot fabricate. As an artist, you cannot be helpless like a child. As an artist, you cannot be like a teenager and push back and be against things. I'll never do chemotherapy. Right? No, you're acting like a teenager. As an artist, you cannot just take everything into your intellect and trying to reason your way through it, and reduce it to calories you eat or nutrients you eat. As an artist, you cannot completely let go and disconnect from the divinity, the God of your understanding, and be, if you would, like an old person, completely in resignation. As an artist, you show up and you use everything that's coming at you for your own highest good, because you truly believe that God is good and that you're here and this soul is embodied in this body in order to be able to learn certain lessons. So when you look at Earth as a university, guess what? Wow, I took a course called testicular cancer. How cool is that?
Oh,
Now I'm going to
said that.
explore, right? I'm going to explore, and I'm going to find out some of the complex challenges that I had with an older relative that might be considered as sexual abuse. I'll reflect that. I reflect into my own initiation into sexuality, what sexuality was. And that was really the initiative for me, not only to be a medical doctor and family doctor, but also study and become a certified sexologist, because I truly believe the importance that our sexuality plays, not only in creation of the disease, but
Yeah.
also healing the disease. You see, I've written multiple articles. One of the articles, it's available on Medium. It's called Elusive Orgasm. And I talk about the connection between orgasm and health and cancer, and I cite a study where high percentages of women with breast cancer, they never had orgasm, or they thought that it was a wifely duty and they didn't enjoy it. And it all contributes to a terrain, a constitution that is diseased, and it gives rise to medical challenges such as cancer, such as multiple sclerosis. I don't think that it's an accident that when you look at autoimmune diseases, these are diseases where the body turns on itself, where the body attacks itself, that the ratio is 10 to 1. In other words, 10 women get autoimmune thyroiditis, they get multiple sclerosis, they get rheumatoid arthritis, they get lupus, okay, for one man. It's not an accident. I think there is a connection between sexuality and femininity and our culture and how that is cultivated. That's how that is received, and the diseases that we're seeing in our women.
Yeah. Thinking back to like even, you know, my emotions and how
Yes.
I may not feel connected Um, if I don't feel connected, then of course I'm not going to be doing anything sexual. You know, I don't want to be touched, any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, I'm thinking we need to heal that part of ourselves to be
Yes,
able to enjoy those things that are considered natural. You know what I mean?
absolutely. Now, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay. If you're hungry and you come home and you feel disconnected with your husband, what's your husband's first name?
Jermaine.
Okay. If you feel disconnected with Jermaine and you're hungry, would you just say, just don't touch me. I'm not going to eat your food. I'm going to go to my room and I'm going to just go to sleep. Would you ever do that?
No, I'd probably eat the food.
No, you need to eat because the act of eating is a self-care.
Yeah.
Because the greatest thing you can do is that. Now, after you eat and in the process of eating, you have an opportunity to actually connect and chew the problem through with Jermaine. And now all of a sudden you feel a deeper connection and so forth. So the problem is that most people and most couples, and my beloved and I, we work with a lot of couples, that this is a very common problem, that they want to feel emotionally connected before they want to be physically connected. And you know, it takes a lot of maturity to be an artist, to be a master, and to be able to master the circumstances in life, and to be able to hold that, okay, right now I know that I love Jermaine, but I may not like him because he did this or that, whatever, right? And that's really that's the level of maturity that we're cultivating. You
Mhm.
see, that when you look at why do we sit down and have dinner? I mean, we know that the families that they chew together, they heal together. I mean,
Mhm.
you sit down and did you have children?
Yes, we have a son. He's 2 now.
Great. When you sit down as your son grows up, and if you decide to have more children and expand your families, you probably will see this, that when you come as a family, in the evening you sit down and you say, okay, tell me, what was your day like? And
Mhm.
as they're chewing their dinner and as they're talking to you, they're also chewing the problems that they have. And then they take a bath and you put them to sleep, and once they go to sleep, that they have they be able to process their day, so when they wake up, now they have an expansion, that they're not carrying the leftover from yesterday. A lot of the problem is that I didn't grow up that way. So now a lot of us, when we wake up and we still carrying the hurt feelings that we had towards Jermaine or my beloved into the next day, it accumulates, and it accumulates like the way that a lint roller that we use to get rid of lint on our dress or suits. That's what happens, and after a while it creates emotional armoring and we feel disconnected from each other. Okay. And so absolutely. Look, I mean, I think 90% of the 7.85 billion people on the planet. That's why we're having this conversation. We're having this conversation not because I have all the answers. We're having this conversation to create a context, a realm that people start noticing how their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions could be contributing to a physical reality that's creating a sickness, a dis-ease for them. And as Einstein said, we cannot solve a problem at the level of the problem. We have to be able to come above it. And when you look at the good book that says, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth, that's maybe what Jesus was talking about. Meekness in Aramaic means surrender. Surrender, S-U-R, the prefix means above, like surcharge, like surface, extra charge, or above the face. So render in musical term means a new translation. It also means a thin layer of plaster that you put over a wall. Blessed are the ones that they'll come above the problem and they contextualize it and give it a new meaning, for they shall inherit the earth.
Mm.
That's the way back into the paradise lost. So just because someone is given a diagnosis of cancer, it doesn't mean that it's over and they may stick a fork in them. It simply means it's a new beginning
Yeah.
for a new birth, for a new consciousness. that will shift and change everything for them.
I love that you said that, because it just gives people so much hope that there is a new beginning, a new chapter awaiting them.
Absolutely. And it starts with that. It starts with trust. It
Yeah,
starts with believing that God is good.
yeah,
That's it. Just God is good. God is love. He who hasn't loved hasn't known God yet, for God is love. And
mhm,
that's really what saved my life. That's what started me on this journey. You
mhm.
know, as I talk about it in the book, I sat across from my anatomy partner. I was second year medical school. I sat across and I told him, look, I was just given this diagnosis. And in the conversation, just like you and I are speaking, he told me this, and I'm like, wow, if God is love, then everything that occurs for me, it's an act of love. Oh my God. All of a sudden, as I was walking back to medical school, I was just walking taller. And I started writing love inside my thumb, and eventually turned it into a little sticker, and then a little button it's love button, and that I wear now. And it just turned out to be a nonprofit. It's called Love Button Global Movement. And I feel very humbled and touched. One of our ambassadors is Chris Martin from Coldplay. And so far, he has distributed over 6 million love buttons all over the planet. His last, Coldplay's last tour, A Head Full of Dreams, every single participant got a love button. The Super Bowl 50 halftime show when Coldplay played, they distributed 75,000 love buttons to all the participants. And in halftime, everyone held a piece of placard, and then it spelled "Believe in Love." 111 million people across the globe saw that. The path to healing is a loving path.
Yeah,
That's where it starts. That's what it starts.
yeah. I totally believe that. And it's like you just said, like, I have so much more love and compassion for
Hmm.
people and patience. Like, yeah, I'm human, so I have like my moments, but for the most part, like how I approach situations and people and relationships is so different than how I
Yeah.
used to do it before,
Hmm.
And it's all about love for me. Like, I just
Hmm.
really care about you. And like you said, like you had your anatomy partner who was there for you and,
Hmm.
made you like feel good, like walking tall and everything like that.
Yeah.
Like when people would
Yeah.
tell me, "Oh, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be fine," and like really believe that, like I'm praying for you. You're gonna be fine. I know you're gonna be fine. When you are like in this space of I don't know what's going on, like I'm scared, I'm terrified, and then people are telling you that, you're like, okay, yeah, I will. Maybe I will be fine. But it gives
Yeah.
you that that extra umph, like, yeah, I'm gonna live, like I'm gonna do whatever um I know that I should be doing and go within to be well, to work on myself and be well and live, so
Absolutely right. I could have not said it any better. You're absolutely right. The importance of having someone that they're invested in you, that they're holding this space for you. See, you are going to brew, right? One of the things that I talk about, and the cover of the book, The Clarity Lens, is just an empty cup. And that symbolizes that person that you have. That person holds this space. That person is the context. And then, and because if you have a cup, then there could be an alchemical reaction between the tea bag and the hot water. And that's what's happening. See, if let's say you are the tea bag, and let's say cancer is the hot water, if someone can hold this space for you, right? And really, ideally, we want that to be our physician, isn't it? That
yeah,
instead of bombarding us with statistics that, in my case, 70% chance of metastasis, you're not going to survive, you got to do this. If you don't, and look, I was 26 years old. I didn't have a Dr. Sadeghi. And the background, it was Scott Hamilton that nearly died. The gold skater got testicular cancer. Lance Armstrong nearly died. The cancer spread to his brain. They had to take out part of his brain. the cancer spread to his lung. They had to take out part of his lung. So it was scary. But you're absolutely right. If you have someone that they can come with you and they're going to say, listen, you're going to go climbing, and it's called, healing from cancer and eventually thriving.
Yeah.
But you need a buddy. You're going to be harnessed, and I'm here and I'm holding you. And I want you to focus, and I want you to be methodical, and I want you to go up. And that's what you've done, and you've survived it, and you're here. And that's why you're doing what you're doing.
Yes.
That's why you want to take that message and you want to give it to other people. And regardless of, where you are, what diagnosis they've given you, what I want you to hear is that, this is the medical challenge that you're going through. It's not because you're bad or you did something bad. It's not, it's not that. This is part of what you're going through. And if you could not make it as significant, and if you could allow the charge to fizzle out by doing purged emotional writing, by speaking with a good partner that can hold this space, by having a deep spiritual practice, by creating what I refer to in the Clarity Cleanse as, evoking compassionate self-forgiveness, and allowing, years of shame and guilt and misunderstandings and misinterpretations and misidentifications, misuse of energy to dissipate, to fizzle out, okay, to be metabolized. Then what you're left with is so much more space to be able to heal, to get creative, and to approach this as just like any other challenge, as an artist. And that's what it means to be a mature adult, a mature human being, to learn how to approach life as an artist.
Yes. Amen to that. Oh my God.
You can call me every day. I love being with you. I love co-creating with you. And obviously we can go on for, really just hours, and at any point that I could be of service. It's really a privilege to be of service. But, what I think it's appropriate to really perhaps say a prayer. And it's the prayer that I said every single day from the day that I was diagnosed. And, I get emotional because it was February 10th that that this journey started for me. And my beloved and I, we celebrate February 10th is our Valentine's Day. We call it the Day of Life.
Oh my
And and that's why I invited you and requested for us to do this around February 10th, which is today. And it's really an attempt to give back. And one of the things that I did every time I took a shower, right, I stood underneath the shower, and I asked for forgiveness, and I called in the light, and I saw that I was filled, surrounded, protected, and uplifted with this white light of living love. And and I truly believe that every human being has access to that. We're the only mammal that I know of, that we can use the phonation, we can use the words that can come out of our mouth, and we can create meaning not only for ourselves but for other people.
Mm-hmm.
So we can use it for our own upliftment, instead of, there are people that they go through life and they talk about, I cannot stomach her. She's a pain in the neck. This is a pain in the ass, and this is this. And they're wondering why they have neck pain, why they have gastroesophageal reflux disease, why they have hemorrhoids. Words are powerful. Words are powerful. I feel humbled that you've asked me to really start this line of energy that you want to contribute. And there's so many masters, so many doctors, physicians, healers that you're going to have on your show, and they're going to contribute. But what I want to leave your viewers with is this idea of forgiveness, gentility, sweetness, metabolizing shame, and stopping the way that we mind shame ourselves. especially when it comes to important aspects of our lives, such as our sexuality. It really affects every aspect of biology, physiology, psychology, and most importantly, it opens up a space for a new spirituality to occur, for us to have enough space, cathedral inside our consciousness, where Holy Spirit or Ruha HaKodesh can come. And that's really when miracles occur.
Yes. Being able to go within
Hmm.
and actually listen and do the work and, you know, be like being led and not like having all of this resistance against, because people thought I was crazy, a lot of the times because I may not have done something that, say, like one of my doctors wanted me to do at the time. But I knew in my heart and in my spirit that I was doing the right thing. Like I wasn't trying to self-sabotage myself. Now that all of that's over, it's like, I'm not crazy. Like you guys can see I'm actually not crazy.
No, it was a way, what you went through was a way to prepare you for being an artist. Just like you go to exercise and you bench press whatever, 100 pound, 200 pound, 300 pounds, and it rips off muscle and it's painful. And the next day you feel it, but it makes you stronger. So this is also, cancer or any other medical challenge. It's a calling to step forward, and it's a psycho-spiritual exercise. And for every person is different, and we cannot cookie cut it. There's certain things we can do, but it's an inside job that you need to pause, you need to reflect, you need to feel, you need to think, and then you need to be able to think through your feeling, which we refer to as intuition. And then which direction is for you. So it takes time. And one of the greatest thing is to really open up enough space and not to allow others' opinion to collapse you. You need to be able to have that spaciousness, the mental space that I refer to as clarity, or which is a healing context. You need to have that. You need to have this cup before you can make the tea. If you don't have the cup, you can't make it. No matter, if you have the right water, the right ingredients, you're at Mayo Clinic, you're at Johns Hopkins, Harvard, UCLA, USC, Oxford, it just doesn't matter. You need to start inside. You need to have a healing context, because cancer, I believe that cancer, it's a process that it starts inside and then it manifests. In anthroposophical medicine, we believe that consciousness precedes phenotypic expression. So before something manifests, it starts in our thoughts. That's why the good book says, as within, so without, as below, so above. That is the process, that is the process. And I think, and that's the invitation perhaps you have, or I have, definitely for your viewers, that as they go through this series and they listen to everybody, to go and approach it as an artist. See, don't approach it as a helpless child. Don't approach it as a teenager. Don't approach it as an intellectual. I believe it when I see it. Well, there's certain things you can't see. And sometimes it's required for you to have the belief. It's called faith. And then it will reveal itself. You can't approach it as a person that's resigned. Oh, it's not going to be no good. Forget it. It's over. You look at it as an artist, which you realize that this is an aspect of my life, and I'm going to reflect. I'm going to think through my feelings. I'm going to cultivate a culture that is based on self-care, self-acceptance, self-love, self-forgiveness, self-gentility. And that's the mental context. That's the mental space. That's the cup that creates miraculous healing.
How do we tell someone that we love or whomever that we need that space for us to just step away for a second to process what's going on, to reconnect with ourselves?
And I would just say that I think you said it very eloquently. I think a good place to start would be to sit with your loved one or loved ones,
Mm-hmm.
and you start with that. Look, I got this news. I would like you to give me the dignity of my process. I know you love me, and I want you to also give me space to be able to process, to chew this,
Mm-hmm.
which means that right on my plate there is life brought this steak or quinoa salad, depending on what you like, and you can't just funnel feed me. You need to let me be able to take bites at my own pace and chew it, and then swallow it and then stomach it before I'm able to really digest it. And metabolism, it's what it's required. And in the book I talk about how metabolism has a system. Metabolism starts by breaking things down, which is called catabolism. That's when we chew food. And then we create anabolism. We give it a different meaning. That's what happens when we eat something from outside. That's also what happens when we're giving diagnosis for a medical challenge, okay, such as cancer or multiple sclerosis. You have to be able to metabolize it. And in order to do that, no one can do that. No one can chew the food and do the work for you. That is what it means to be a mature adult. And part of that is, and sometimes medical challenge or a particular challenge occurs so that we gain what it is to speak our truth. Okay, because we hide behind a facade of looking good and wanting to please people. And sometimes you need to say, I know you love me and I need you to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And I need you to keep your opinion to yourself until I'm ready and I ask for it. And we can do that lovingly. So this is what it means to be an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And if we learn to do that, great. That's part of our healing. I've seen, some of the cases that I talk about in the book, it's nothing short of a miracle. And it starts with this way of being and really approaching life as a master. My parting prayers is that which is for your highest good and the highest good of all to unfold. And I can't wait to see the entirety of all these masterful people that you have on your show.
Thank you. Thank you for all of that. Thank you. And thank you for being who you are and being so peaceful and generous, and for all the work that you're doing to help us heal and to go within. It's so powerful, and I'm so very grateful for you.
It's a privilege. Thank you for your acknowledgement, and God bless you. I love you. Take care.
God bless you too.
Bye.
You too. Bye.